What's up, everybody? It's your favorite sociologist and the identity professor, Aurelia Johnson, founder of the OWN Project. Listen, today I got on here because, number one, the majority wins. So right now, Cut It is in the lead. And, if that's what y'all decide to do, then I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. I probably dyed a pretty color too. But below this video, what I want you to do is to comment. So by 2 o'clock, I need to know, because, I have my interviews today with my sexuality practices study I'm super excited about. If you would like to join, of course, you can comment below and send me a DM. But I want to know, from you. So the majority right now is telling me to cut my hair. I got two people that are saying, oh, you need to keep it, but everybody else is like, cut it. So that's what we're going to do. But let me hop into this topic that I'm talking about today. Yesterday, I was watching T.S. Madison, who brought up this sister named Nikita the Dragon, or Nikita Dragon. I'm not really sure. Went to her page. She has millions of followers. And she has dropped this video. Now, I am all about, people being able to do whatever it is they want to do with their bodies. If you want to exploit yourself, objectify yourself, commodify yourself, co-opt yourself in order to get your bag, then that's your business. But when it comes co-opting, commodifying, objectifying, and exploiting other people to get a bag that profits you and not those other people, that's when I have to step in and I have to have, we have to have like a heart-to-heart, sister-to-sister conversation. The video that I watched, there were 3 things that came out to me. This is what I saw. Number one, what I saw is the continued perpetuation that transgender people are dishonest and that they are luring and manipulating cisgendered heterosexual men into relationships with them because they are lying about who they are. That is a dangerous narrative because that is going to be used by people who will then justify the beating, raping, maiming, molestation, burning, murdering violence against transgender people. Number 2, the other thing that I saw in the video was the stigmatization of Black men and men when it comes to them being in relationships with transgender people. If a man is attracted to a trans woman, that's his business. If a man is attracted to another man, that's his business. If a man is attracted to a cisgender woman, a non-binary person, a goddamn flagpole, I really don't care because that's his business. But you have to consider the historical marginalization, dehumanization, exploitation, commodification, and objectification of Black bodies. In particular, in this case, when we're talking about Black men, because they have not been allowed the freedom to explore their sexuality like other men, right? So white folks take for granted, especially white men, take for granted their ability to be who they are or whatever it is they want to be in the bedroom. Black men have not had that ability. They have not had that freedom nor that liberation. Okay, number 3. What I will say about this DEI thing, when we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we are not including spaces that deal with sexual practices, desire, and pleasure. Black people, people of color, indigenous people have been historically left out of those conversations because they have been fetishized, because they have been eroticized, because they have been objectified, because they have been commodified, because they have been co-opted and exploited for somebody else's pleasure, and their pleasure has been marginalized and casted aside. Black people, people of color, indigenous people have a very sordid history with their sexuality, their sexual practices, and their sexual desire. Number one, because they were completely ripped from their own history and formulation of these things. And number 2, because they were then paired and associated with myths, they were then paired and associated with stereotypes, the hypersexualization, the rape fantasy of the Black man for the white woman, the Jezebel, the Mandingo, the welfare queen, the sapphire. All of these things come into account when you're talking about sexuality, when you're talking about sexual practices. And so then there is still this stigma that is associated with AIDS and HIV, which then puts people in a position where they want to distance themselves. There's also, when you're talking about religious ideology, there is white supremacy. There is all of these conservative ideas that are not indigenous to the people that they are being cast upon, and then those people have to then play within the realms of the politics of respectability. I think this video that you dropped is very dangerous. I think that it was disgusting. I think that it was not well thought out. I think that you didn't give a shit about the collateral consequences of the damage that was going to be done by people, especially when you start using the likeness of Marsha P. Johnson, when she was a Black trans woman who was fighting for LGBTQ rights, right? During a time when LGBTQ people weren't even deemed human, right? When they were being included in the DSM-5, right, for having a mental illness. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a problem. And the fact that Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, who are largely left out of literature and the conversation when it comes to liberation movements, sacrificed themselves for a movement that then separated themselves and alienated and isolated them because they did not look like what was quote unquote middle class respectability politics. I think that your video is complete bullshit, sis, and I think that you need to go back to the drawing board, and I think that you owe a whole bunch of people an apology. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.